This is The Sports Life.
Carter, baseline out of bounds. He throws it to Pryor, left wing. Now to Simpkins up top. They get it to Carter, right wing. Carter pass to Simpkins. 11 to shoot. Simpkins, help from a middle screen, goes around it. Stops near the right mid-post, throws it to Carter, left wing. Drew Carter misses a three. Rebound, kicks long to Simpkins. Simpkins to the basket, he scores!
And welcome into the Sports Life. For this week, we'll team along with Dalton Scheller, and I was Joey McMurray, the voice of the Oregon Ducks basketball team, as they're off and running with a nice win over Hawaii. Well, this show, we're going to talk a little bit of football and a surprising topic, I think, Dalton. We're talking about the Iowa Hawkeyes being a potential college football playoff team, which was clearly not on my radar in August, and maybe not others as well.
Well, and when they lost by 3 points to Iowa State, whatever hope you did have, you kind of just checked it off.
It's over. It's over.
Look what the Hawkeyes have done. It really is something pretty special. Also, speaking of special, how about in West Lafayette, Braden Smith, the point guard for Purdue? I don't think everybody fully understands, Will. We're talking about somebody who may not just shatter the Big Ten all-time assist record, but might eclipse 1,000 assists for a career. That's only been done by 4 other players ever, and he could even maybe push for number 1 all-time. Braden Smith is spectacular, and the voice of the Boilermakers, Rob Blackman, will be talking about him and his career as we tip off.
Well, what do we got going for the Sounds of the Week, Dalton?
Well, for Sounds of the Week, why don't we just stay in West Lafayette for a moment and hear from head basketball coach Matt Painter, because Matt Painter is always a fun soundbite to listen to. And early on, as Purdue got the season rolling, Fletcher Lawyer dropped a 30-burger in the opener for the Boilermakers, had a monster game, and he was asked about, the public opinion of Fletcher Lawyer. This is setting up a gold response from one Matt Painter.
I think you're aware of the pulse of your fan base where people love Fletcher Lawyer or they want to replace him. It seems like that's kind of been the...
Well, the people that want to replace him aren't very smart.
That's what I was going to ask.
So let's don't hang out with them.
So let's don't hang out with them, huh?
Simple as that, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Thought that was such a great answer defending his guy.
I mean, you asked that question after the guy just lit up somebody for 30? Are you kidding me?
Well, it did set the table for Matt to say, yeah, those people are not very smart.
Not very smart.
That's pretty good. But let's stay in West Lafayette for a moment and switch over to the football field, because Devin Mockabee is 4th all-time in Purdue football history for rushing yards, and unfortunately suffered a season-ending injury, and it will end his time at Purdue. And Purdue head football coach Barry Odom talked a little bit about that as he had a Q&A during his press conference.
Unfortunately, Friday he had a procedure. We were hoping that we would get a little bit better news after that they did that procedure on his ankle, but unfortunately the injury sustained. He's played his last ball here, and I sure hate that, because he's such a wonderful young man, a great leader of this program, a great representative of Purdue University, and the things that he's poured into our program and university since I've been here. He will go down as one of the really, really enjoyable, great guys that I've had a chance to coach, and will be connected forever. And I know that this place means a whole lot to him.
4th all-time leading rusher, huh?
Yeah.
Man, that's something, because Purdue has had some pretty good running backs over its time, but because of the record, it kind of gets lost in the shuffle. And I know Purdue's not having a great year, but I think, given where they started this year, I think they've done pretty well.
I kind of like the blocks that Barry Odom's building early on for the Boilermakers. It just, look, that one's going to take some time for the Purdue program. They were in a pretty desperate spot heading into the beginning of the Odom tenure. Our last sound of the week, we're going to head over to Minneapolis, where P.J. Fleck continues to row the boat. And matter of fact, he talked about rowing the boat after the game. That's part of the story and sentiment we want to bring you, as he had a really emotional opener to his post-game press conference following an overtime win over Michigan State. Here's what P.J. Fleck had to say.
I'm going to start with this. We won the game. Kids found a way. All right, I'm going to start with this, too. Wore this blue wristband. Our community's been through a lot. I've been here 9 years. I watched our community go through an awful lot of things. And that's why Heather and I love it here so much, is because of the response and the resolve of the Twin City area and the state of Minnesota. And I've watched a lot a lot of horrific things at times, and a lot of special things at times. And I'm no bigger than anybody. I'm a member of our community like everybody else. But today was a really, really special win. We had Fletcher's 3 buddies and his brother join us yesterday from the Annunciation shooting, and Fletcher was one of the young people who lost his life. And their dads came and spent a lot of time with us yesterday, and it's pretty amazing how resilient kids are. They come into my office and they want to know about, can we have some bubble gum? Coach, what sunglasses do you wear and why? Which tie you picking tomorrow? What game is this? What game is that? And I think it's really important to understand is because at Fletcher's funeral, it was talked about how one of his greatest moments and memories was at our USC game last year when we stormed the field and beat, a top 11 team in the country, USC. And there's a picture in my office, and I didn't even know the family, but there's a picture of those boys on our field. And I have 4 kids, like a lot of you have children. And it's the most unthinkable, tragic, catastrophic feeling you probably could ever have with losing your child. And to have Milo, Tripp, MJ, Sebi, and their dads just being with us all weekend on their time when they were ready. Mike Rosbicki did a tremendous job of hosting them and bringing them into our family. And they were with us on the sideline pregame. They were with us in the locker room after the game. They all got a game ball. And I know Fletcher is smiling down on his buddies and his brother. Kids are really resilient, but we don't understand how that will really impact and affect young people when they're 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. But today, I know Fletcher was smiling down on them, and they got a lot of pictures tonight on our field. And they're able to create a moment memory and hopefully have a little bit of peace, solace, and hope for the future by how our team played tonight with the resiliency and the resolve of what Row the Boat's all about. We can't bring Fletcher back. We can't make it easier. But I hope that for 45 minutes in my office here, for pregame, to that locker room, they could smile. And I thought they did. So this goes way bigger than football, everybody. I get paid to win, but I understand my role as a head football coach. I understand the obligation I have and the job I have to do and who I represent, and I never take that lightly. And the opportunity you have as a head football coach in a sport for entertainment and judgment to make an impact on other people's lives. And that's why I row the boat. People could say it's corny. It's 13 years, everybody. Move on. Find a new word. Just find a new word. It's 13 years. It's almost 100 wins. Move on. Corny? It's never give up. It's what we just talked about with Team Fletcher. And if you're going to call that corny, you have issues and problems.
Wow. Well, Dalton, I don't know what you say after that. I just don't. And P.J. Fleck, I don't think he's corny. And I really appreciate everything you just said and what he just did. Back with more of the sports life in just a moment.
So, got one for you, boss.
Oh, yeah?
What's black, white, and dented all over?
I give up.
The company truck. I know, but thanks to our agent, we've already submitted an insurance claim and can track the status right from the app. Auto owners pays what they owe without any hassle.
Lucky for you, that's simple human sense.
Ask your independent agent if auto owners make sense for you.
Medicaid and CHIP offer free or low-cost health coverage for children and teens. Hospital and doctor visits, prescriptions, shots, and more are covered. That's peace of mind for parents if a child is sick or gets injured. And parents may now be eligible for Medicaid too, even if they've applied in the past. Enrollment is always open. Visit insurekidsnow.gov or call 1-877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
If you have diabetes, listen up. If you have insurance, you can qualify for a continuous glucose monitor. With a CGM, you can continuously track your levels and trends and spend more time in range, significantly lowering your A1C. More importantly, a CGM eliminates the one thing most people with diabetes hate: painful finger sticks. Order your new continuous glucose monitor today. If you use insulin and if you've seen your diabetes care provider within the last 6 months, you may qualify for your own CGM right now. We'll do all the insurance paperwork and deliver your new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost to you. Medicare and most insurances will cover your CGM, so don't wait. Have your insurance handy and call the Aptiva Medical CGM Health Hotline right now.
800-948-6912. 800-948-6912. 800-948-6912. That's 800-948-6912.
We'll be back with more in a moment. This is The Sports Life.
Roxanne Watson is on a mission.
Hello, how are you doing today?
She wants more people to register as organ, eye, and tissue donors.
Are you an organ donor?
Yes, I am.
Yay.
My goal is to sign up the most people in the United States.
What drives her? Roxanne's own life was saved through the gift of a heart transplant, made possible by an organ donor.
I decided that day that I was going to devote myself to the cause of organ donation and signing people up and honoring my donor by doing that.
Now she's back to health, and she's a powerful force helping to save lives every day through her work. Imagine what you can make possible by leaving behind the gift of life.
8 people can be helped with the major organs, and up to 50 people can be helped with a little bit of everything. And when you think about it that way, that you could help that many people, it's amazing. It really is.
Learn more and sign up as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Go to organdonor.gov. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
And welcome back for more of the Sports Life. Will Teeman here along with Dalton Shetler. Well, if you go back to August when everybody thought they knew everything about the Big Ten football race, we heard about Ohio State, we heard about Oregon, we heard about Penn State, and Illinois was going to be the dark horse. Somewhere, Dalton, I never heard the 4 letters that spelled Iowa.
Or even Indiana.
Yeah. Indiana, flash in the pan, right? So now all of a sudden you get Indiana ranked second in all land, and you have Iowa hosting Oregon this coming weekend. They're number 9 in the country. And before you know what the Iowa Hawkeyes look like, if they can win out for sure, they're going to make the college football playoffs. And joining us now, the legendary and longtime voice of the Iowa Hawkeyes, Gary Dolphin. And Dolph, before we talk about what's going on there, did you see this coming at all? Because the Hawks are really putting together a heck of a season.
Yeah, they have, Will, and of course credit to the Coach Ferentz and his staff. The stability that the staff brings to the table is, I think, one of the big keys as to Iowa's success, not only this year, but for all of Kirk's, 26, 27 years that he's been at the helm. No, I'd be lying if I said I saw this coming. Now, I will tell you, when I sat down last spring and took a look at the schedule, I said publicly then that this is probably the toughest schedule that Iowa's had in at least a decade, maybe longer. But and who knew Wisconsin who knew Wisconsin was going to be who they are, and who knew the Hawkeyes would beat Minnesota by 38 or whatever it was, a 5-2 team. But have to play at Iowa State, at Nebraska, at USC, at Wisconsin. You guys know it's never easy to win, let alone play at Camp Randall. And then have the likes of Penn State and Indiana and other really good teams, Oregon most notably this Saturday at home. This, I thought to myself, if this team can get to 9 wins somehow, they're going to be in the running for a wild card spot, and that's exactly what's in front of them right now. The second week of the season, they lost by a field goal at Iowa State. That's always a knockdown drag out. As you guys know, it's no different in Michigan State. Those interstate rivalries can go either way. But I knew Iowa would have another outstanding defense with Phil Parker. He just reloads every year, much the way Norm Parker, the other Michigander, did back in his day. Special teams have been a little less than spectacular because of Caden Weegan. He was voted the best special teams player in America last year. He's back. They've got another punter from Australia who's averaging, 45, 46 yards. And they got an All-American kicker in Drew Stevens. So you knew they were going to be okay there. What we didn't know was could Mark Gronowski handle the transition from FCS to FBS, and he had some shoulder surgery in the spring, hurt a knee early on in the season, but now he's close to 100%, and that's the big difference. They have a guy at quarterback that is a veteran. He's salty. He's 6'2", 235 pounds, and he's rushed for 10, 11 touchdowns. And he's really stabilized that offense. Now, they've still got work to do in the passing game, but as you know, Iowa always runs the football, and they're doing that with, last year it was Caleb Johnson. This year it's 4 guys, including Gronowski, who are all in that 200, 300, 400 yardage category. So it's been, and they're winning the turnover battle now. They were -1 3-4 weeks ago. Now they're +5. So there's a reason they shut out Wisconsin. There's a reason they whipped the Gophers beyond anybody's imagination. And there's a reason they held on to beat Penn State. And it's because the defense forcing turnovers primarily, but also Gronowski's really been a stabilizing force.
Gary, it's interesting you talk about that schedule, and you mentioned the 2 losses, the heartbreaker against Iowa State, but then the close miss to Indiana when the Hoosiers came to town. And I think, I don't know what it was like locally, Gary, but I think nationally that's when everybody started to wake up and pay attention to, hey, Iowa's the only team to play Indiana close this season. And I think that's when the Hawkeyes garnered some respect. Indiana went to Eugene and knocked off the Oregon Ducks. Is there anything that game against Indiana, that close loss, taught you for Iowa that might lead to some success or parlay against the Oregon Ducks this weekend?
Yeah, that's a great point, Dalton. I don't know if it taught me anything, but it reinforced my thinking on Mark Gronowski. If you go back and look at the play-by-play chart, he got hurt. That's when he hurt his knee. I believe it was early, maybe the first few minutes of the fourth quarter. And Iowa was on the drive. They had crossed center field, the center line, in Indiana territory. We're driving. I think the Hawks were down 3. It's late in the game. The night sky is chilly, and he gets hurt. He hurts a knee. He goes off to the tent. They check him out. He comes hobbling out of there. He wanted to go back in, but against the doctor's wishes, so Ferentz was not going to play him. And it took him a couple weeks to get back. But you're right, they gave Indiana their best game. The Hoosiers took over, I think, on downs. I'm going from memory here. I could be off. And then threw the touchdown pass with a minute or 2 left to go. The guy ran out of a tackle. At that point, the Iowa defense, they're playing a lot of new guys. They're veteran guys. They've been around, but they've never started. They've never been in that moment like Indiana. And I can't remember who the cornerback was playing that time, but he and as you know, Indiana's good all over the map. Their receivers are outstanding. I'm a Heisman voter. Mendoza would get my vote today, hands down, simply for what he's done in his 1 year. And everybody knew he was outstanding coming in from Cal. But you're exactly right. Iowa gave Indiana by far its toughest game of the year. And I think that that kind of lit a lot of lights, not only around Iowa City and the community, but across college football, that, this team is legit. The most impressive thing about the Hoosiers, I said this last year, was their improvement on defense. I mean, they could always score points. They always had really good players on offense. But this defense, I just shake my head when I look at what Coach Cignetti has done. I mean, 50-some transfers last year. Most of them came from James Madison. And 28 this year, mostly from Division I schools all over the country. But it's one thing to bring in all these new faces. It's quite another to push the right buttons to get them all to play on the same level. I'm not sure Indiana isn't the best team in America. I haven't watched Ohio State that much because we don't play Ohio State. But that Indiana game was a turning point, I think, Dalton. Really, you're right.
But also, I should point out before I ask my next question that game was tied going into the fourth quarter, which is pretty good. Oregon.
It was, and Iowa was moving the ball, and injuries are part of the game. And Ferentz said afterwards, they threw a redshirt freshman in there, and he ended up throwing an interception, which sealed the deal. But it is what it is, and I think the Hawks have learned from it, though. Will, you're correct.
Well, Oregon, one of their calling cards has been they have great team speed. They really do. Is Iowa quick enough to hang with them?
Well, they're not. I don't think they certainly don't have the speed that the Ducks have. I remember reading earlier in the year where they have 4 potential number 1 draft picks in the upcoming NFL foray next spring, 2 on offense, 2 on defense. And typically when you look at the Ducks, their top players are in the offensive and defensive line. Their offensive line averages 325 pounds. I mean, they're just gigantic. And I know it isn't always about size and weight, but that's a good place to start. So, no, I mean, and you're not going to see any change from Phil Parker's defense. Now, the thing about what's interesting about Iowa's defense this year is, you know, historically they've not been chance takers. In other words, they're not going to red dog or blitz a whole lot. Phil Parker is calling for pressure much more than he has in the past. So he'll send and he can do it because he has the speed, he has the quickness at safety. The secondary has really been the bright spot this year. They moved Xavier Wampa, who was a 5-star coming out of high school, one of the few that Iowa gets. They moved him to free safety, so he can roam now. He can come up and help up with the run stuff, or he can drop back into coverage. And the defense or the offenses aren't really sure where the X-Man is going to be. The emergence of Zach Lutmer as the cashback. He is this year's Sebastian Castro. He had a pick six a couple weeks ago. He's legit. He's an Iowa farm boy. He's not Cooper DeJean, but he does some things that will remind you of Cooper. And their cornerbacks have really gotten better as the season has gone on. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Deshaun Lee, the kid from Belleville, Michigan. He has really played well. Consistently, especially the second half of this season. So no, they're going to have to spy on Dante Moore a lot. You know, Phil Parker will have something up his sleeve for the Oregon Ducks, but they're so good. I mean, they're so wealthy at almost every offensive position. Running back, they've got 3 or 4 guys that are averaging 6, 7, 8 yards a carry, led by Noah Wintington. But Moore, what's amazing about Moore is his completion percentage is usually in the 70 or 80% range. He's thrown for 20 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. Oregon just reloads a quarterback every year. I mean, Moore came in from UCLA. They've had great quarterbacking at Oregon, whether it's Bo Nix or this guy. And so Iowa's going to have to get creative on defense. But offense, it won't be any different. They're going to run the football and let Gronowski take his shots down the field. And that's been the other nice change is Tim Lester. This is his second year as offensive coordinator. He came in from Green Bay, and they run the Packers offense, not to where it's a spread, no huddle offense. But Lester has really put some creativity and some imagination into the offense. And he's got a quarterback who can play that now, and they should only get better at that position. I mean, you guys know he was a great quarterback. Lester was a great quarterback at Western Michigan, 87 touchdowns and 11,000 throwing yards. So he's trying to blend as much of that as he can into the Iowa offense until he has the guys he needs at receiver. And obviously quarterback is going to be a question mark going into next year because Gronowski's a 1-year buy.
Well, when we come back with more of the Sports Life, our conversation with the voice of the Hawkeyes, Gary Dolphin, will continue. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the legacy of Kurt Ferentz, their longtime head coach, in just a moment when the Sports Life continues.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Dad. Did you get a new haircut or something? A new shirt? You're looking good.
What happened?
A little fender bender?
How little?
A few days in the shop little. But thanks to Mom and our agent, we've already submitted a claim and can track the status right from the app. Auto Owners pays what they owe without any hassle.
Sounds like simple human sense.
I'm fine, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna ask.
Ask your independent agent if Auto Owners makes sense for you.
This is a potter's field. When people can't pay for their funerals, they are buried here. It is a lonely, desolate place, littered with unmarked headstones. No one visits. No one leaves flowers. But it doesn't have to be that way. For as low as $1 a day, you can ensure your family will have the money to pay your funeral expenses. We offer burial insurance plans that pay up to $30,000. Considering the average funeral costs more than $10,000, that's peace of mind for your family. There are no medical exams, your rates won't increase, and your policy cannot be canceled as long as you make your premium payments. Call now to get approved in minutes and ensure your final resting place is more than just a pauper's grave in a potter's field.
800-562-2407. 800-562-2407. 800-562-2407. That's 800-562-2407. Paid for by Final Expense Direct.
We all make choices about alcohol. Kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Bye, Dad. Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
Hey, Em.
Remind me about that party again?
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations, and they want honest answers in everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path, because when you talk, they hear you. Learn more at underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
We'll be back with more in a moment. This is The Sports Life.
Here's a real-life story that affects 50% of all of us out there. It's called divorce. If you've gotten divorced and now you're struggling to pay your bills and your credit card debts are completely out of control, you need to call this special debt relief hotline right now. We help people with all kinds of money problems caused by different life challenges, a divorce, a job loss, even heavy medical bills. All these life events can sometimes financially stress you out and cause you to get out of control. We help people get their lives back by showing them ways to consolidate and reduce their debt, in some cases for a fraction of what they owe. If your credit card balances are more than $10,000, call us and learn how to reduce your credit card bills and monthly payments now. Here's our number.
Paid for by Debt.com. Call now, 800-810-1584, 800-810-1584, 800-810-1584. That's 800-810-1584.
Welcome back for more of the Sports Life. Will Tiemann here along with Dalton Shetler. And don't forget Auto Owners Insurance, simple human sense. Ask your independent agent if Auto Owners make sense for you. Well, today we're talking about the Iowa Hawkeyes, maybe the surprise team so far in the Big Ten on the plus side. And we're going to resume our conversation with Gary Dolphin, their voice. And Kurt Ferentz, Dalton, what a run he has had.
Oh, most certainly, and it's been there for so long. And I think, Gary, that's one of the really big curiosities or fascinations I have with what we're currently experiencing with Kirk Ferentz, because I feel like any long-tenured head coach, anytime there's maybe a sniff of a regression or a step back, there comes a lot of noise, and the volume gets louder and louder. It felt like there might have been a little bit of noise around Kirk Ferentz for a little bit, and what do you know? You take a look, and today he's got them in a spot where if they win out, it looks like they're headed for the college football playoffs. I think it's a bit comical how this is all played out. How has Kirk Ferentz been able to kind of push away that noise and continue to be who Kirk Ferentz is and who the Iowa Hawkeyes are?
He believes in the plan, Dalton, the plan that, the great Joe Moore and Ted Marchibroda and Hayden Fry and Bill Belichick taught him, because he's worked under all those guys. He's worked under 3 or 4 Hall of Fame coaches, and he's taken bits and pieces from each. And I think that that is the stoicness of the Western Pennsylvania boy, blue collar, who believes in his system, and it's worked. Think about this. What do we got? $150 million in dead money out there against that needs to be paid to the 10 or 12 coaches that have already been fired this year. Kirk Ferentz was 4-19 his first 2 years at Iowa. You wouldn't get that chance today. You'd be gone after 2 years, and I wonder what some of these athletic directors are thinking from time to time. But Bob Bowlesby stuck with Kirk Ferentz. Of course, he was his hire, and in year 3 they went to the Alamo Bowl and beat Mike Leach and Cliff Kingsbury and the crazy wild offense that Texas Tech ran, and this is what now they're bowl eligible for the 24th time in the last 25 years, and you can make fun of all the bowls that you want, but Iowa usually goes to some bowl around January 1st, so it's usually a pretty good pick, and if they're not in the playoffs, it's usually the next tier, and I think Iowa fans are happy with that. I think where the criticism came into Kirk recently was most people, and he would probably admit it, that Brian stayed too long as offensive coordinator, that he was struggling, and maybe that wasn't the right fit for him. It proved not to be the right fit at Iowa anyway. I think he's a terrific assistant coach, and he's showing his wares out at Fresno State right now. They're having a great year, and he's out there working for that staff. So I think that's where the only fly in the ointment occurred. But he is the same guy, and I can promise you he could give 2 shakes about the college football playoffs first rankings that came out last night. I see they're 20th or whatever. He could care less about that. All he's worried about are the Ducks, and this is a tough finish. At USC next week, Oregon this week, then the Hawks host the Spartans, and then they end up at Nebraska. And whether Nebraska is good or bad, and they've been mostly bad lately, but they're really good the last couple of years under Coach Rule, that's not going to be a cakewalk or any cup of tea. So that's all he's focused on right now. But to your point, Dalton, Iowa's usually plays their best football. Its best football in November, and here we are in November.
Real quick, Gary, to wrap this thing up, as you studied this game, Oregon and Iowa, is there something that just jumps out at you that the Hawks got to be worried about or take advantage of?
Yeah, Dante Moore obviously is the drinkster, and he's a kid from Detroit, so he's a tough guy. He grew up in Big Ten country. He's quick. He's got great change of direction. But maybe the shocking or surprising thing, Will, is that Iowa won't change a thing. I mean, they're so good in both the offensive line and defensive line. They've got an All-American in Aaron Graves. They got two outstanding defensive ends in Llewellyn and Herkett, who are all both are fifth-year seniors. They've gotten much better in the back end. They've got three linebackers, one who started a little bit last year. The other two, they're first-year starters, but they're juniors and seniors, and they've gotten better as the season has gone on. So I think with the Iowa defense, it's steady as she goes. Offensively, you're going to see Gronowski probably carry the football 10, 12, 13 times. At quarterback. He's an outstanding rusher. He makes great decisions. He's an RPO, but he's not the speediest RPO guy. And then Iowa has three tailbacks. They're going to try and pound and ground. They have they had the number 2 rated offensive line of returnees coming into the season. I read that somewhere. And they've got 3 seniors to lead the way, led by Outland Trophy candidate Logan Jones. I think it'll be pretty plain Jane for Iowa. The big thing, though, to answer your question, Will, hang on to the football. If you turn it over to Oregon, it's going to be a long day.
Well, I hope you guys have a great broadcast, Gary. It should be a fun game to do.
Yeah, looking forward to it, Will. It should be a great game. We don't get many of these type of matchups. Usually we get a lot of good teams come to Kinnick. Iowa, this might be the best Iowa team in several years, so we'll see where the chips fall.
Some of the thoughts of the voice of the Hawkeyes, Gary Dolphin. And Dalton, I want to point out one thing. I mean, Kurt Ferentz is the longest tenured major college football coach in America. And Gary talks about how he sticks to his principle. These are all good things. But also in that mix is the university. They've allowed him to do what he does. They've stood by him through thick and thin. So he's done great. They've done great. But that university deserves a little credit, too, because they have stayed behind him to allow him to build what he has.
And isn't that cool in today's day and age where everything is so spontaneous and so instantaneous? Here you have a bit of a unicorn of, you know what, this is our guy. We trust our guy. Let's see where this goes. And it has the Hawkeyes thinking maybe college football playoffs.
I like their shot. You never know, but I like their shot. Well, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about a fellow that sort of showed up in West Lafayette, and he has done more than I think anybody thought he might, maybe except for Matt Painter. Back with more in just a moment.
So, got one for you, boss.
Oh, yeah?
What's black, white, and dented all over?
I give up.
The company truck. I know, but thanks to our agent, we've already submitted an insurance claim and can track the status right from the app. Auto owners pays what they owe without any hassle.
Lucky for you, that's simple human sense.
Ask your independent agent if auto owners make sense for you.
If you served honorably in our nation's armed forces and you're looking for a way to continue serving your fellow veterans in your community, then join AMVETS. AMVETS members volunteer millions of hours at VA healthcare facilities from coast to coast, helping to improve the lives of their fellow veterans through the VA Voluntary Services Program. AMVETS posts and departments also participate in a wide variety of community service projects. If you no longer wear the uniform today, you can still serve through the AMVETS by joining today at amvets.org.
Do you hear that? That's the sound of uncertainty lurking under your hood. You know the feeling. I know I do. That sudden sinking sensation when you see a check engine light or your car unexpectedly breaks down and you're faced with sky-high repair bills. It's time to shield against unexpected repairs with CarShield. CarShield is America's most trusted auto protection company and has an A rating with the Better Business Bureau. Don't let the fear of a breakdown keep you up at night. Trust the Shield, CarShield, and say goodbye to terrifying repair bills and hello to peace of mind. Your plan also comes with 24/7 roadside assistance, courtesy towing, rental car options, and so much more. Don't wait till it's too late. Call CarShield now before a breakdown. Protect your wallet. Protect your car with CarShield. Get our best protection ever. Call now. You'll thank me later. 800-965-1292. 800-965-1292. That's 800-965-1292.
We'll be back with more in a moment. This is The Sports Life.
Did you receive a call or message that mentioned Social Security and demanded immediate action? Did the caller know your Social Security number or other personal information and tell you that your Social Security number had been used in connection with the crime? Did you feel worried that your Social Security number might be suspended, your bank account might be frozen or seized, or you could be arrested? That is not the Social Security Administration. Social Security will not threaten you, demand your personal information, or instant payment, email or text you pictures or documents, or use a real government official's name to gain your trust. Social Security does not accept payments by gift card, prepaid debit card, internet currency, or by mailing cash. Criminals use these forms of payment because they are hard to trace. Do not be fooled. Hang up. Ignore them. Report this criminal activity to the Social Security Administration Office of the Inspector General at oig.ssa.gov.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
And welcome back for more of The Sports Life. Will Tiemann here along with Dalton Shetler. Well, Dalton, I want to take us all back a couple of years, several years to be exact. Matt Painter recruited a youngster out of Westfield, Indiana. He didn't have the dimensions of what we would consider ideal for being a Big Ten player, like 170 pounds, 6 feet tall. I mean, how could that guy be such an impactful person? Well, not very heavy, not very tall. He was the Big Ten Player of the Year last year, and he's on the verge of becoming one of the greatest college point guards in the history of the game. And to talk about Braden Smith, the Boilermaker leader, is the voice of Purdue, Rob Blackman. Rob, thank you so much for joining us. And before we talk about all the records he might set this year, did anybody see this coming? Not the fact that he would contribute to make Purdue good, but the greatness that he's achieved.
Boy, I don't think so. I think even Matt Painter would admit publicly that he thought Braden could be pretty good, but probably not at this level, the record-breaking level he has played at. I think you're being a little generous when you mentioned he's 6 feet tall. I know Purdue lists him as 6 feet tall in the game program. He's closer to probably 5'10" and a half. And think about it, this is a guy that, he had a couple things working against him. Number one, you're exactly correct. He does not pass the eye test when it comes to Big Ten point guards. The other thing, when he was being recruited coming out of high school, that was the COVID year. So you couldn't go in live scout to look at players. And so Matt Painter was trying to do all of his evaluations off of film, what he could see on the internet or off of game film that was being sent to him. And at the time, Braden Smith really had one, maybe two Division I offers, one of them being Belmont down in Nashville. Longtime coach there, Rick Byrd, who's good friends with Matt Painter. Matt Painter called him and he said, "Hey, what do you think about this Braden Smith guy?" And Rick Byrd, just being the stand-up guy that he is, said, "Hey, you need to get on this guy and get on him immediately." He said, "We'd love to have him in Nashville, but trust me, you'd love it even more to have him at Purdue. He's a Big Ten type of player." And sure enough, the old veteran ball coach knew what he was talking about. And you look at the numbers that he's putting up and could certainly put up before his career is over. So a hell of a story. The other thing I like to share with folks, and they ask about Braden Smith, is the fact that, he came to Purdue with a broken foot. He didn't even practice the summer of his freshman year because he was healing from a broken foot. So he never really got going as a college player until late August, early September, yet he was the starting point guard from day one as a freshman. So really just an amazing story when you think about the background of what allowed him to get to where he's at now. But I know that's a long answer, but to answer the question directly, I don't know. I don't think anyone saw this coming.
Well, and what's amazing, Rob, too, is when you actually start crunching those numbers, 758 career assists for Braden Smith right now. The Big Ten all-time mark is 890, set by Cassius Winston just a handful of years ago. But already you're 132 assists away from that. And all-time in college basketball at the D1 level, there's only ever been 4 players to hit 1,000 assists for their career. Braden Smith right now, if you're playing out the averages and what he might be on pace for, he's on track to maybe hit and join that 1,000 milestone, and he'd just be the 5th player ever. It's kind of hard to process. How has this happened?
Yeah, it is hard to process. And look, in his senior year, he's off to a pretty good start, Dalton, because the first game of the year he has 11 assists. So that's not a bad way to start game one. If, and we certainly at Purdue, we've crunched the numbers because we kind of need to, if he has a season like he had last year, which was 313 assists for the season, that would leave him 5 shy of the all-time record set by Bobby Hurley for most assists in the history of college basketball. Again, that's just equaling last year's total in 36 games. Now, Purdue is hoping they can play more than 36 games this year, and they're hoping Braden can average more than 8.5 assists per game like he did last year. So when you start doing the number crunching, not only is 1,000 assists within reach, certainly the all-time record is well within his reach. So a lot of things obviously have to go right. You're right. You have to stay healthy. You have to have some guys make some shots for you when you're throwing the ball. In that season opener against Evansville earlier in the week, he probably could have had 15 or 16 assists, but they had a couple guys fumble some balls at the rim and stuff like that. So the other thing too, and I know, when you were talking point guards, you want to talk assist, and I get that. He's on pace to finish with 2,000 points, 1,000 assists, 700 rebounds, which has never been done in the history of college basketball. Those are mind-blowing numbers. So yeah, if he can stay healthy, good Lord willing, he might retire from his collegiate days as one of the best, if not the best, that ever played the point guard position.
I'm trying to get by that rebound number for what you call a 5'10.5" guard.
Yeah, right. It's amazing. It really is. He is a tenacious rebounder. And on the defensive end, Purdue, like a lot of teams will, leaves the point guard back defensively as a safety when Purdue's on offense. So just think about that. He has rare opportunities to go get offensive rebounds. All of his rebounds have to come from the defensive end. And he's already over 500 rebounds in his career going into his senior season. So, yeah, I find myself, even as I'm talking to you guys, I'm thinking to myself, am I making this stuff up? I need to double check my numbers here. It's just so amazing.
In at the rate he gets assists, the more games, obviously, the better in trying to break Bobby Hurley's record. But the other thing is, when you talk about that, it's not pie in the sky. How good is this Purdue team this year? Number one preseason, obviously the pick to win the Big Ten, obviously a team that's going to run at the national championship. So I don't think it's crazy to talk that way, but as you've seen them in practice, now at least a game for real, what do you think?
Yeah, certainly a work in progress, and you know how this stuff goes, especially with coaches. A veteran in Tom Izzo there in East Lansing, a veteran at Purdue and Matt Painter, they're never satisfied, and there's a lot of work to do. But on paper, without question, Purdue has the roster is put together that could make a run at the national championship. Two things that Purdue was very deficient at last year was rebounding the ball, number one, and two, protecting the rim. Those are the real areas of deficiency. You think about Purdue made it all the way to the Sweet 16 last year. They were an eyelash away from getting to the Elite Eight, yet Purdue defensively was the worst 2-point defense in the country, which that is hard to fathom. You're the worst 2-point defense in the country, yet you almost got to the Elite Eight. So Purdue really needed to shore up those two things, protecting the rim defensively and rebounding, and they felt like they did that, with the addition of Oscar Clough, who's a 6'11" transfer from South Dakota State, who was the second leading rebounder in the country last year, and maybe even probably more importantly, Daniel Jacobson, who's 7'4", is back healthy. He only played one game last year for Purdue. He actually broke his leg in the first minute of the second game of the year last year, so he missed the whole season. So now he is back. So you add Clough, you add a 7'4" player in Jacobson, all of a sudden you feel like you're in pretty good shape in those two areas of deficiency. I think those two additions alone puts Purdue in that position where they can feel like they can legitimately make a run at the Final Four. But make no mistake about it, this team goes as Braden Smith goes.
Well, Rob, is it a tree or a factory that Matt Painter keeps these 7-footers on?
It is a bit amazing. All of these 7-footers keep finding their way to Purdue. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure how. I'm speaking here a little bit tongue in cheek, but to be totally serious with you, one thing Purdue is very deliberate about in recruiting big guys is they emphasize and then they show them not only on tape but statistically how often Purdue throws the ball in the post. And that's something that those big guys are very interested in. They start salivating when they see the hard numbers of how often the ball goes into the post for Purdue, because you guys know so often big guys never see the ball at even the professional level. For whatever reason, those little guys like to keep the ball in their hands all the time, never throw it into the big guys. That is a point of emphasis at Purdue, and I do think that really helps in recruiting when Purdue can show tangible evidence that, hey, we throw the ball to big guys. If you're a big guy at Purdue, you're going to touch the ball basically every time down the floor, and that certainly helps. But yes, how Matt keeps continuing to find guys 7 feet, and more importantly, 7-footers that can play. To me, that's the key. I think there are probably enough 7-footers walking around out there that maybe every team in college football or in college basketball could have one. But can they actually play, right? Can they walk and chew gum at the same time? That's sometimes a big difference there in delineating the differences between good players and bad at 7 feet tall. So, yeah, not only does Matt Painter find those guys, but you know what? They end up being pretty good players, too. Just look at Zach Edey from 2 years ago.
I was going to say, I think if I was Purdue and I was recruiting a big guy, I just would unscroll the list of accomplishments that Zach Edey had in his time in West Lafayette. But, Rob, I wanted to ask you real quick, too. I know primarily this conversation's been centered around Braden Smith that Will and I are having with you. We talked about some other members of the team. But Fletcher Lawyer, we heard Matt Painter's comments in the top of the broadcast, top of our show here, about his 30-point game earlier this season and kind of silenced the haters and critics, did Matt Painter. I was curious, what went into Fletcher Lawyer's performance there and what makes Fletcher Lawyer the player he is?
Well, probably the only bad thing, and I mean that this would be the only bad thing about Braden Smith's success, is the fact that Fletcher Lawyer, his running mate, his classmate, has kind of been forgotten about, because those two guys, not only did they come in together, but they've started every single Purdue game together. Fletcher also started game one as a true freshman and has never come out of the starting lineup. You think about his performance in the season opener against Evansville, 7 of 10 from 3. This is a guy that led the Big Ten in three-point shooting last year at just under 45%. This is a guy who 2 years ago, when Purdue made its run to the Final Four, in the month of March at one point was shooting, I think it was 72% from 3. That's for the month of March. So yeah, this guy's a flamethrower. But again, when your classmate, when your running mate in the backcourt is Braden Smith, you don't get a whole lot of props, and rightfully so. Everyone's paying attention to Braden. But yeah, he's meant an awful lot to this team without question. In his ability to space the floor, right? That's the big key with him. And again, we talk about big guys. Why do big guys at Purdue have so much room to work in the low post and have success? Because they're surrounded by guys who can shoot the three, so your floor spacing is always good. And that's what Fletcher Lawyer brings to this team, instant spacing. And yeah, I did, we joked with him. We actually had him on our post-game radio show after the Evansville win. We're like 7 out of 10, that's not bad, right? Can you keep that up this season? And he jokingly said, maybe not, but you could tell in the back of his mind he was thinking, yeah, I think I could shoot 70% from 3 for the year. So let me say this. If Fletcher Lawyer shoots 70% for the season from the three-point line, Purdue's probably going to be in really good shape this year.
I would think so, Rob. And before he lets you go, when you think of Purdue basketball and Coach Matt Painter, the question usually isn't, are they going to be any good? The question is, how good will Purdue be this year? What has been his magic down there?
I mentioned Tom Izzo a minute ago. To me, and this is maybe just me trying to be too romantic about the game of basketball, I don't know. But you think about when Tom Izzo took over at Michigan State, he said for us to have success, we need to be more like Gene Katie's teams, right? He really wanted to match that toughness and that emphasis on the defensive side of the floor, which Gene Katie was having great success at Purdue. I find it kind of a full circle moment that now Coach Painter, when he really started finding his groove and having success, he talked about how he needs his teams to be more like Tom Izzo's teams at Michigan State. Toughness, rebounding, really having an emphasis on the defensive side of the floor, really crashing the boards in offensive rebounding at a high rate. So it kind of all comes full circle, right? Coach Izzo when he started, wanted his teams to be more like Coach Katie. Coach Painter, when he gets started, he wants his teams to be more like Coach Izzo. So I think you kind of start right there. Coach Painter's talked early and often, especially leading up to this season, how will this team deal with adversity? Because there is going to be adversity. I have terrible news for the Purdue fans. Purdue's not going to go 40-0 this season, okay? It's just not happening. No one in college basketball is going 40-0. There's too many good teams. So when adversity comes around, how are you going to handle it? Are you going to have some toughness about you? Are you going to have some want-to about you? Are you going to go back to the basics of rebounding, defense, those types of things that help you win games? Well, guess what? Those are what Tom Izzo's teams have always done. Those are what Gene Katie's teams always did, and that's what Matt Painter's relying on now, and that's why he's having success, in my opinion.
Well, Rob, it's always fun talking with you. Hope you have a great season, and we'll see you soon, I'm sure.
All right, good, Will. Dalton, thank you guys for having me.
Rob Blackman, the voice of the Purdue Boilermakers. If they don't have a great season, Dalton, I'm going to be shocked. This team just looks loaded to me.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, we'll see. Like he said, it's a long, long journey. Well, when we come back with more of the Sports Life, our parting shots in just a moment.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Dad. Did you get a new haircut or something? A new shirt? You're looking good.
What happened?
A little fender bender?
How little?
A few days in the shop little, but thanks to Mom and our agent, we've already submitted a claim and can track the status right from the app. Auto owners pays what they owe without any hassle.
Sounds like simple human sense.
I'm fine, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I was going to ask.
Ask your independent agent if auto owners make sense for you.
Everything is expensive right now. Gas, food, you name it. You're spending more, you are making the same or less money. So, what do? You rack up credit card debt. That's what you do. It's not your fault. It's the economy. And guess what? If you rack up too much credit card debt like some of us, you can't pay your bills. Then the credit card companies, as nice as they are, start hounding you for money. Then you start your downward spiral. A smart thing for you to do is to call the Zero Debt. They can help you consolidate all your credit card bills into one affordable payment. Millions of people have done it. It works to make you debt-free. Make this free call right now. It costs you nothing to learn more.
800-298-9093. 800-298-9093. 800-298-9093. That's 800-298-9093.
We are strong, we are resilient, and we will get through this together. But these are stressful times, and it's important to also practice good self-care. It's normal to feel overwhelmed, anxious, or afraid, but there is hope. Reach out to someone, connect with your friends, stay in touch with your community, and know that you are not alone. Learn more at wearebroadcasters.com/hope, furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
We'll be back with more in a moment. This is The Sports Life.
I found hope in the midst of an overwhelming situation.
Alcoholism is a disease that can affect any family. Everyone suffers, but there is help and hope at Al-Anon Family Groups.
Al-Anon gave me my life back. I'm a better father and husband.
Are you in an overwhelming situation because of someone else's drinking?
Al-Anon and Alateen can help.
Local and virtual meetings are available. Maybe one could work for you. Call 1-866-200-0033 or visit alanon.org/hope.
I'm Naheem Hines, professional football player. No matter the challenges I face every day in the NFL, my mom is always there for me, despite her own struggles with muscular dystrophy. And MDA is there for my mom. At their 150 care centers across the U.S., MDA is the leading organization in research and care for kids and adults with muscular dystrophy, ALS, and related neuromuscular diseases. Join me and learn more at helpmda.org today. Thank you.
And welcome back for more of the Sports Life. Will Tiemann here along with Dalton Shetler. And a good show we've had this week, I think. I'll be honest with you, Dalton. I didn't think we'd have this kind of conversation with Gary Dolphin about the Iowa football season this kind of way. Boy, have they been a positive surprise in the Big Ten. And Rob Blackman talking about Braden Smith, their point guard, who's really creating quite a legend for himself. That's a great story as well. So now it is time for our parting shots. What do you got?
And by the way, if you missed any of that, make sure you give us a follow at Sports Life Now on Twitter or X. At Sports Life Now is our name. We'll have everything posted there. For my parting shot, look, we've covered a lot in this show, and it's a busy time of the year, right? You have basketball, hockey, football, everything's going on at the same time. We didn't have a window to bring this up, so I want to make sure that we address it somewhere in the show. Nebraska quarterback Dylan Raiola ended up with a season-ending injury this past week in the loss to USC, and that's huge because the Huskers are 6-3 heading into their last 3 games, the last quarter of their season. Already clinched postseason, did Nebraska in Matt Rule, but you kept waiting for Nebraska to continue to take that next step with Matt Rule, and this is just a devastating blow with Dylan Raiola being out, who had completed 72% of his passes, thrown already for more than 2,000 yards and 18 touchdowns in the 9 games he got to play. That's just a tough piece of news. And by the way, that loss to USC, that was Nebraska's 29th straight loss to a ranked AP team. That's a streak that dates all the way back to 2016. So at some point, the curse will be lifted for the Huskers, right?
Well, that's what you would think, right? I mean, when they joined the Big Ten, obviously they were a national power. Mm-hmm. You would never guess years later you'd be saying something like that.
It really is kind of mind-boggling. At some point, it's got to end. Water's got to find level.
Well, I guess.
That's our plea to Husker fans.
There you go.
Keep the faith.
Speaking about good quarterback play and percentages, this record is floating around potentially. I don't think it's getting a lot of attention, but it sure has grabbed my eyeballs. Bo Nix in 2023, as quarterback of Oregon, set an all-time NCAA record completion percentage of 74.45% for the year. Well, this redshirt freshman down in Columbus, Julian Sayem, their quarterback, right now he is sitting at 80.73%. That is an amazing completion percentage at any level. And if he keeps it up, he's going to own the record. So who's he got left? Well, they go to Purdue. They got UCLA, Rutgers, and at Michigan. And then postseason. A lot of football to go, but man.
It's got the Buckeyes saying Heisman.
Oh, that was cute, Dalton. That was really good.
I try.
Well, they are saying it. Well, that's a wrap for our show. And as always, we appreciate everybody joining us this week. And we should also note that you can find us wherever you find your podcasts, like SoundCloud, Spotify, and Apple. And make sure to check us out and hit subscribe. As always, thanks to the Big Ten Network. The Sports Life is produced by Dalton Shetler. Our executive producer is Wendy Hart. So on behalf of Dalton Shetler, I'm Will Tiemann, and thanks for your time.